So, just as a disclaimer before we get into the video and you start formulating your terrible opinions about me and what you may think of what I'm saying, I want you to take into account, if you don't already know, that this used to be me and this is me here now. Let's get into it. So something that I felt very strongly about when I was overweight, and something that I still feel very strongly about today, is a whole debate about body acceptance and body positivity and fat shaming in today's society, especially in America. Just stumbled across an article the other day where this woman, she is obviously a body positivity activist and someone who's kind of down talking people who are fat shaming. Now, of course, I am 100% behind the idea of body positivity. I think we do need to love ourselves and love the skin that we're in, or else we're never going to be happy in our lives. But there's a fine line between body positivity and just truly lying to yourself. Fat shaming is, of course, very frowned upon, and I agree with that. You shouldn't ever say someone's lesser because of their weight. But at the same time, we almost use that as a way for people to never tell us about who we really are. So before I even jump into the video, I just want to give a little backstory and some insight into how I feel about the whole situation. If I say anything that offends you, you think I'm wrong, I'm an idiot, you could turn the video off, yell at me in the comments, I don't really care. This is coming from my heart and something that I truly believe is what's right to say, and something that a lot of people don't realize about themselves. I've realized back when I was overweight, something that I still see now on social media, in real life, no matter what the situation is that no one tells us about ourselves. No one ever speaks the truth about being overweight and obese, just because of the way that it can harm people, and just how sheltered we've become around the whole idea of it, and just how we can close up and not want to hear anything about it when it's being spoken to us. You know, like, you've had your friends, if you're overweight, you probably have friends who have kind of poked some fun at you, and you just brush that off because of your friends. Or if you go to the doctor, I know for me, I went to the doctor like once a year just for my physical to play sports. And of course, at the end of the meeting, he's telling you, all right, you need to chew your food slower. Kind of just jumping around the idea of you're overweight, you're going to die if you don't change your ways. And of course, with that, we kind of brush that off because those are doctors. Of course, that's their job. We just think they're supposed to say things like that. But we don't ever hear this stuff from the people that love us, and those are the people that we actually need to hear it from. I know personal experience, and this is the same thing for a lot of people. I cannot recall a single time that my parents or my mother has told me, Fitzroy, if you don't change your ways, then you're going to die. I know that may be harsh to hear, but it's the complete and honest truth. They're not bad parents for not saying it to us, because it is kind of looked down upon if people speak about you that way nowadays. But it's the truth, and that's what we need to hear in order to change things about ourselves. We can be put in denial a lot by the own thoughts that we have. And it really does take someone like your parents, someone who loves you and someone that you know is looking out for you, opposed to maybe a bully at school or maybe a doctor who you think is just doing their job. It really does take someone who loves you in order for you to start believing the things that are being said. So, body positivity. I know it's like the thing and the theme of today. If you just take 2 scrolls through your social media, you'll see people who are talking about fat acceptance, fat shaming, body shaming, loving the skin that you're in, loving who you are. And like I said, I'm 100% behind that. I think we do need to do those things. We do need to love ourselves for sure. If we go throughout our days, that's where depression comes from, if you don't love yourself and you don't love the situation that you're in. But there's a fine line between loving the skin that you're in and loving yourself and just lying to yourself. At some point, you have to start telling yourself and listening to the truth, especially when we're talking about being overweight and being obese. If you love the skin that you're in and you want to be able to continue to love the skin that you're in, then you need to be alive to be able to do that. And if you're obese, the honest truth is that you're slowly killing yourself. If you're slowly killing yourself, you won't be able to love yourself within 20 years. There are many things about obesity that will be a detriment to your health that you may not realize now, but in 20, 30 years, when that obesity has lingered around you and that overweight body fat has been around you for so long, your body will start to break down. You start getting diseases. You can get diabetes, skin conditions. There are many things, of course, that you can get from being overweight. Just a PSA, for any of my friends who have told me that they hate the blinds in my videos, I realize the sun was starting to come through pretty badly. I just closed that for you, so that was for you. Get over it. Now, before I truly get into the article, I just want to say I don't know this person at all. I'm not even going to put their name or anything or the title of the article because I'm just not like that. I'm not in the business of shaming people or making fun of them or trying to say they're a bad person for doing whatever they're doing. I'm sure this body activist, body positivity person is someone who does this as a means to put food on their table. If they truly believe the words that they're saying, then I guess I'm just an idiot and I know nothing, but I don't think this person is truly believing what they're saying. The ideas around, they have no problem with being fat. I was huge. I don't think that's true. I don't think any single person that's obese on this planet has no problem with being obese. It is something that changes your life in a lot of ways. I could barely even bend down to tie my sneakers. I couldn't walk around, snoring when sleeping, heavy breathing, sweating all the time, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what type of clothing I'm wearing, sweating and smelling from that sweating sometimes. So there are many things around being overweight and obese that I just know that any regular person would not love. So I just wanted to say that. But to get into a few points in the article, don't get me wrong, it's a very well written article. She does an incredible job at really getting her point across, and it does make it easy to believe. She's a very good writer, but the things that she's saying are just completely false, and they're really harmful to anyone who may be reading it, anyone who may be in the same situation. I'm not going to read the entire article for you, but I did just want to point out a few parts from it that I thought were really important and really important to talk about. One part in the article that I thought was just really silly, didn't make any sense. She's talking about people who she sees on social media who may be shaming or telling others like factual things about being overweight and being obese. And it reads, I keep hearing from reporters, extended family, and Instagram trolls that obesity is a prime cause of death in the United States, which it is. She goes on to say, but most studies reveal that heart disease is at the top of the list, and thin people get heart disease too. In fact, you can't just die from being obese. I read up on my condition quite a bit, and there's no medical side effect to obesity that thin people are entirely immune to. Thin people get diabetes, thin people get osteoarthritis, people get whatever. So she's pointing out the fact, a true fact, that people that are obese contract diseases that people who are regular weight contract as well. And that's obviously very true. You can get heart disease and heart cancer as an obese person, and you can get heart diseases and heart cancers as a normal weight person. But she looks past the fact that people who are overweight, people who are obese, it increases your chance so much of getting those diseases because of the condition that your body is in. People who are obese are 28% times more likely to get heart disease than someone who is normal weight. So that's not something that you can just look past and say, oh, we can all get these diseases. You have to look at the fact that because of the situation that you put your body in, that's why you are that much more likely to get that disease. So it's very silly for her to point that out and say everyone can get these diseases. And it gives someone who may be reading this false hope that, oh, you know, like my situation is okay because I have just as much as a chance as getting a disease as someone else who isn't in my situation. So my situation is fine. That's not true. The fact that you are obese and overweight, it does make that so much harder on your body, and it does increase the likeliness for that to happen. Another part in the article where she's just talking about how social media or just the media in general kind of talks about or treats people who are overweight. Now, before I get into what she actually wrote, I do very well agree that sometimes overweight people are kept out of the light. It can be bad in the sense that, of course, they're not represented because of the situation that they're in, because they're overweight. But you cannot necessarily be mad at these people because of what they've chosen to do with their brand or their social media or their movie or whatever it may be. So what she says here is, insurance providers don't want to give us care, designers don't want to make clothes for us, and casting directors don't even want to acknowledge that we exist unless it's to poke fun of our bodies, etc. blah blah blah. If you don't know already, people who are obese or overweight much more overweight than your normal person do have a higher rate for their insurance. Now that, if you really think about it, it does make sense, because if you're overweight, of course, you're more likely to get a disease. So your insurance provider is letting you know, because you're not healthy, because you are not in the same situation as someone who may be normal weight, because you are more likely for us to have to use our money for you, we're going to make your rates higher. That's honestly, that's something I have no problem with. Whether I was still obese or whether I'm at the weight right now that I am, I don't have a problem with that, because it makes a lot of sense. In terms of casting directors not wanting to put them in their movies, or people not wanting to, like brands not wanting to make 5X clothing. If you go into a Gucci store and you're looking for like a 5X shirt, and they're not going to have it because it costs money to make those shirts. They're not doing it because they hate fat people or anything like that, but it does cost them money to create a 3X, 4X, 5X. You can't be mad at these companies because you are overweight and you want to wear their clothing. It's not their fault. To be honest, you just go wear something else. There's no way that you can get mad at these companies because they're not making the clothing that would fit you. It's your situation and it's not necessarily their fault. They're not obligated in any way to do that. Another part of this, and the last part that I'm going to point out from the article, something that I thought was just really silly and harmful for her to say to people that are reading. And again, if you truly believe the things that you're saying, okay, but deep down I do not think you do. But she says, epidemic or no epidemic though, I'm stuck on this weird ass planet much like the rest of us. People keep telling me I have a fast approaching expiration date, but it hasn't come yet. As far as I can tell, it's not going to come all that soon. It will someday, of course. From my calculations, no one, not even a thin person, is immune to death. That's kind of the same idea as what she said earlier in terms of getting diseases and not being immune to getting those diseases no matter what your health may be like. Of course, we are all going to die one day, but this is saying that me being obese is in no way a reflection of the time frame that my body may be able to withstand life. You're lying to yourself. You're implying that being overweight is okay. So for you to sit there and imply that being overweight is healthy and there's no problem with it, that's a problem within itself. It's like being addicted to a drug, or you walking around smoking cigarettes and telling everyone around you that it's okay. There's no problem with smoking cigarettes. It's not going to do anything to my body. Writing articles like this where you're implying that your health is not an issue if you're overweight and obese, and that the way that you're living your life is okay, and others are reading this, others read social media and others read media period, whether it's newspapers, magazines, anything that's printed. People who are out there and reading this believe it because it's printed and published somewhere. It's like you saying that you're addicted to cocaine, another thing that is detrimental to your health, but saying that it's okay. Implying that being obese or addicted to cocaine in no way is going to negatively impact your body, and that's not true. Like I said, there's a true difference between body positivity and loving yourself, and then lying to yourself. And then in writing things like this, you're lying to others. And honestly, you should be ashamed of yourself if you do something like this, because you have a platform, and now that platform is being used in a negative way. You can love yourself as the obese person that you are and who you are within. You can love the skin that you're in. You can love who you are as a person, but you cannot love your obesity. There are people who out there who have cancer who are trying and praying and wishing and fighting every single day to get rid of that cancer, and hoping that it'll go away with medication or treatments or a change in their lifestyle. By you sitting here and saying that obesity is fine and that you love it, some people say they love being fat. I've seen that before, and that's just ridiculous for you to say. But for you to say that is almost disrespectful to people who have these illnesses who they cannot change it. For you to say that, it's a complete lie, and you actually have the ability to change that. You being overweight and obese is something that can be changed by changing your lifestyle, opposed to something like cancer and these things who are killing people where they can't change it. Being obese, there's nothing fun about it. There's no benefit to your life when you're obese. There's literally not one single thing that being obese and overweight that would make your life any bit better. So for you to sit there and say how much you love being fat and how much it's okay, It's truly wrong, and you shouldn't be giving that message to people who are definitely influenced by young people around who may be reading the words that you're saying. Over time, this is something that's become something that's so weird to me in America, because people are so accepting of it, and I just don't understand it. Because if you ever look around and you have someone who is maybe foreign, someone from another country, or even like your grandparents, because times were different back then, your grandparents tell you you're fat straight up. They have no holding back of saying things like that. And people who are foreign, if you ever hear them talk, or if you've ever spoken to them, they talk about fat and just being overweight so much more open than an American person would, because it's not okay over where they live. It's not normal for people to be obese from where they are and what they know. They're almost disgusted by it, and they're very openly disgusted by it, because it's just not what they know. The idea of like fat acceptance is very weird. It shouldn't be accepted. In no way should it ever be accepted. Like I said about the article, I don't know the person. It's a well-written article. She uses satire and like sarcasm to perpetuate her rhetoric that it's okay. But in you doing that, it's really detrimental to society and anyone who may be reading it. And I hate seeing things like this. So that's why I felt like it was very important to speak upon, because I have been there and I know the truth about it. You can love yourself. It is very important to love the skin that you're in, but it's more important to be truthful to yourself and not lie to yourself. You're in denial if you truly think that being obese and overweight is okay. To wrap this video up, I just want to say, if you're watching this and you are overweight and you're obese and you feel any lesser of yourself because of the things that I've said, I want you to know those were not my intentions. I just want to really point out the fact that fat acceptance is not okay. The things that are being said sometimes on social media nowadays, circulating the whole idea around fat acceptance and body positivity, they can be skewed in a very weird way, and it's really detrimental if it's being spoken about the wrong way. Like I said, you can love yourself, you should love yourself, but there's a lot of people out there who kind of speak about it in the wrong light, and it's very harmful to people who are reading it or are in the same situation. If you're overweight, you should want to change something like that. If you're obese, you should want to, and you should have the burning desire within you to live a healthier lifestyle and become a better version of yourself, because there are many people out there with diseases like cancer who are going to kill them, where they can do literally nothing about it. And you're in your situation where you wake up every single day and you're not going to die immediately, but slowly you are killing yourself by every decision that you make that could be harmful to your body. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are not going to like the things that I've said. Definitely leave a comment below if you don't want to talk about it publicly. You can contact me on any social media. I'm very open to debating about the topic, because I do think it's very important, and I do think it's something that needs to be spoken about, and not enough people speak about it. So if you like the video, you know what to do. Comment, share, subscribe. Click the like button for me if you could. Still going to be doing the 100 subscriber giveaway within a couple weeks, or I guess whenever we reach 100 subscribers. But that's going to be it for today's video. I'll see you next time, guys.